Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Jerry Ludlow, and today's painting is going to be of Venice, the Grand Canal, and my aim here is to show you how I paint this in a very simple fashion. Now, as you can see, it's quite a complex scene. It's beautiful, but the buildings are beautiful, but there's just so many windows and there's scaffolding. There's all sorts of things going on there. And I don't want to be putting all that in. What I really want to do is just to create the atmosphere of the Grand Canal, and I'll be doing that by simplifying the buildings into nothing more than shapes and identifiable shapes, and keeping things like the perspective correct, and also bringing in lots of reflections to add to the charm of the scene. So let's get cracking. First thing I'm going to do is to spray the paper, and I'm going to be using Payne's grey and lots of water. I'll put the water on first of all just to make it flow more evenly. This is just to take that whiteness off the paper. It'll dry right back. Just covering the whole paper and just leaving a couple of areas in the white paper. I'm using a 1.5 inch flat brush, which is good for covering large areas quite quickly. There we go, just a simple wash. I do have the board tilted slightly so the water runs down, and then I'm going to let this dry. As you can see, it dries out quite a bit lighter. Just take the white off the paper. Now I'm using a small dagger brush and the same colour, Payne's grey. I'm just going to work my way around, doing some of the building on the left and the distant trees. Doing as much as I can while I've got the brush in this colour. There's a couple of flags there on the side of the building, and then these distant buildings too. As I go, I'll vary the tone with a thicker mixture, and then sometimes with more water. That's a good point on this brush for doing intricate parts like the dome. I'm not going to paint the whole thing. I'm just going to paint the left hand side, which is the shadow side. Just done a very quick sketch with a 2B pencil beforehand. Let's make sure things like the dome and that are reasonably accurate when you paint them. And then just doing a few token windows. And then there's a couple of smaller domes on the right hand side. Same thing, just doing the shadow. Just working my way down from the parts of the painting that are at the top, just so my hand can stay clear. Keeping the same colour, Payne's grey. And then using a more watery mixture for doing the face of the buildings. Just applying a wash of this watery mixture. And then varying the tone with using a thicker mixture of the Payne's grey. Just working my way from left to right. Still using a dagger brush. And this is raw sienna and a little bit of white paint, just to take away a little bit of that yellow in the raw sienna. Just a first coat on this right hand side building, a first wash. And this is Jaune Brilliant. Bringing in the building that's closer on the left hand side. Just leaving a few untouched areas here and there. Concentrating on trying to keep things as simple as possible. And then some dark paint with a rigger brush. It's just a small boat in the center of the painting, while we're waiting for the other parts to dry. and then putting in the these posts that go into the water. And their reflections as well. Still using the rigger brush. A few more posts. Now the lighter colours dried just enough for me to go over with the dark paint so it doesn't run. And then do some other bits with the neutral tint, the darker paint, as that's dried. This is a medium size round brush, and a Skoda synthetic, and I'm using a mixture of cerulean blue and cobalt turquoise to start the reflections on the water. I'm just going to be putting marks in the area where the reflections are of these buildings. This is quite an effective way of picturing reflections. I'm just varying the amount of water in this colour, just so it's not all the same. Looks different, and being mindful of the shape of the buildings reflecting. As these reflections will take the eye from the water up into the buildings. Just trying to do these marks different sizes and thinking about what direction they're going to be in. I'm just using a very watery raw sienna mix just to catch this this building, the top of this building there. And the same mixture to just take off a little bit of this white on those buildings on the right hand side. Now this is raw umber. and just a little bit of neutral tint. Nice dark brown. Again, using a small dagger brush. Going to be doing some of the roofs. See me turning the brush in the paint there to load it up, keeping lots of paint on the bristles, in the bristles. I've drawn a few marks here and there when I was doing the outline drawing, just to guide me a little bit. We're doing these windows very loosely. Keeping everything random, but in perspective, and then just taking off some of the colour so that everything is in exactly the same tone on these windows and on that roof. Now working back on the boat station. And there's would be poles, tarpaulins, that kind of thing, for when the boats are tied up, the gondolas come and tie up. Nice dark coloured paint which shows up well against the light. Light against dark, dark against light. Very effective. And doing the platform there on the bottom left. Very simply, just a few lines. I've really taken this painting back to the bare minimum. And using a dark mixture to do the distant roof. Still working left to right. It can be very easy when you're painting all over different parts of the painting to put your hand on a wet part and then put that wet hand elsewhere. And I've spoilt a few paintings like that. So I still do it, but I'm more mindful now. Just trying to work strategically. Just doing these roofs on the right hand side buildings. This is the same dark mixture, raw umber, varying degrees of water, make it lighter. Don't want everything to be the same colour, same tone. Just using a little bit of burnt sienna. This is slightly warmer than the raw umber. Now using a small brush just to put in these windows on these buildings on the right hand side. All very simple, nothing too fussy, otherwise it would stand out. And using the same mixture to highlight certain areas of these domes and the roofs. If I think the colour's too heavy and too dark, I'll just dab it with the tissue, just to take the tone down a little bit, lose some of the colour. Now working on the distant buildings that you can't really see what's what. There is just some marks and indication of some windows. Just taking my time doing the marks around the windows. And a very dilute Payne's grey mixture, just going around parts on the right hand side buildings. This is really using artistic license on a lot of this because there's just so much here. Balconies, windows, hundreds and hundreds of windows. and hopefully at the end of this painting it will feel like the Grand Canal in Venice. These rather grand buildings. And mixing up the Payne's grey, which I've used quite a lot in this particular painting. Just let that dry, and I put on the raw umber with it. And working my way along with the same Payne's grey mixture for this this front on the distant buildings. Just making sure that it's put on accurately and the lines are kept accurate. Just trying to get this to brush to pick up the thick paint on the top of this Payne's grey mixture. Just going over this building again, darkening it up, put the nice dark edge, shows up against the light sky. Now this view's been painted so many times, and I've done it a few, but it never feels repetitive. I know the buildings stay the same, but the light changes. I think every painter that paints this just catches a different moment in time and a different mood in the sky and the water. I think that's the beauty of painting in watercolour. It lets you kind of chase those small changes. And now returning to that Payne's grey mixture on those walls, just trying to break it up a little bit. Don't just want a flat wash of the Payne's grey. Now going back to the cobalt, turquoise and cerulean blue mixture. A lot of concentration by me here, just trying to think about putting things in the correct place, because if you get these reflections wrong it really shows up. You can get away with a lot of things with loose painting, but things like your reflections being out really stand out. I'm just trying to capture some movement in the water. As you see, the canal flows veering to the left, and now I'm using the same mixture, but just sometimes thick, sometimes with water in. Cobalt turquoise, cerulean blue. I'm just using a small brush. I don't always use expensive brushes for my paintings. As you can see, I put a small boat. It's quite dark, fairly central, which your eye keeps coming back to when you're looking around the painting. Back to the Pion Brilliant, which is the colour of the walls of the building. You can get this this shade. I get it ready mixed, but if you mix raw sienna with white, you can get this colour. I'm just using it just to add some sparkle to the reflections on the canal. It's really just a case of working quite fast with these reflections and just going in the moment. Really, if you try planning them out, it'll look like that. Whereas you just want it to look kind of chaotic, really. And in the water, there's the reflections of the red roofs and the darkness of the shadow on these walls. I will be putting some windows on that area on the right hand side towards the end. I don't think it looks too eye-catching as it is. And then this is the building to the right that takes you out the painting. Just doing the reflection of that, which is quite dark, so made the reflection quite light. You normally find with dark buildings, dark things, light reflections, and then it's the reverse: light buildings, dark reflections. It seems to be the correct thing to do when you're painting. Now back to the rigger brush with raw umber. Now the rigger brush is a very fine tip brush that is used for just that, for doing the things like the rigging on ships. Holds quite a lot of paint. And normally when I'm using it, I'll go straight directly into the paint and not mix water with it, or very little. Try and get the lines done in one. Don't have to do them twice if I can help it. Just adding a little bit of interest to the building on the left, which is extremely ornate, with the balconies and the windows and the window surrounds. But mine is just a series of marks to give you the impression that that there's some fancy architecture going on there. And then I'm using the same dark mixture to put some marks in the water here and there. Same again, just randomly popping them in, doing it quite quick. Grade's a little bit wet there, so I'll leave that till later on before adding the windows. Just going around tidying things up, trying not to fiddle, but it is difficult. And I'm using neutral tint with the rigger brush on these last few bits. Just looking again at these domes, and you can see how effective it can be, just putting in the shadow and leaving the other side unpainted, because your imagination puts it all together. Makes it look like it's got real bright sunlight hitting the dome. Now I'm taking the masking tape off here, but I will be adding the windows afterwards. And there we have it, the Grand Canal, Venice. And as you can see, I've added windows and just darkened up the waterline and just darkened the flags there as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one. Quite a lot to get through here, and I'll hope you will join me again. Bye for now.